All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to our next video. This is a Tele parts build video. We're actually going to be breaking this down into 5 different parts. So you're going to have to hang with us as each part gets done. And we were talking about putting this guitar together, but realizing we wanted to film the process. So we're itching to get this thing going. We're itching to put it together, but we realize we have to stop and slow down and make these videos for each part of this series. So I'm going to start off just by blaming you on something, if that's okay.
Yeah.
This is completely your fault. And I didn't want a Tele for a while, and you have been building these parts Teles over the last, 3-4 months. And this last summer, we've talked about it on other videos, but this last summer you got a Tele, and then you got another Tele, and then you've been building more Teles. So
Tele madness.
So I just gotta say, what got you into the Tele, and then I'm waiting for your apology basically on this project. So.
Well, and oh man, it's such a good thing to come out of such a Tele compulsion, I guess. But as far as modding stuff, and I was a metal guy, and lately the single coils have this response, and I've just found this kind of holy grail aspect of the Tele bridge pickup, and kind of is like a similar thing that was on the old lap steel pickups, and
right.
And it's mounted onto the bridge, and it's just really easy to get in there and mod stuff, and you don't have to slack the strings, and you can open it up and change the wiring, throw a 4-way switch in there if you have a appropriate neck pickup, and there's just so many cool things about it. It's got a cutaway so you can shred if you need to.
Yeah, totally.
You'll see the body is really cool. I'm excited to show you guys that, but you're able to, I don't know, there's a contour, and there's all sorts of things that you can do to the body to make it all more comfortable, and I think it can just do tick all the boxes for you anyway. So
that makes sense.
It could be worse.
It could be worse. Well, I think too, and I think it didn't help because you were getting 2 different, nice Teles, and you were putting other Teles together. And frankly, some of our shop Teles, our demos are not that great. They're just kind of, they are almost parts casters in their own right, and one of them's kind of a Korean Tele that literally was in parts in my garage for a long time. It kind of cobbled it together. So the goal kind of for me was we want to up our game in terms of what we have to show people. We get a lot of Tele customers in here, and sometimes they'll come and play our subpar guitars and be maybe a little disappointed, and it allows them to hear the sound, which is fine, is what we're going for. But I've kind of missed having a nicer Tele. Looking at prices, we've did this on our podcast, the used guitar price market is insane, and buying new guitars is kind of really pricey. So we started this venture of working towards getting all the parts together for this Tele, and we'll kind of go over each individual part that we have here coming up. I'll start with the neck. We got one of these, and we'll get some up-close shots. One of these roasted maple Tele necks. Now, Fender started selling just their necks. They realized everyone's doing parts casters with their parts, so they might as well get in on the game. And so we got this really nice, beautiful roasted Tele neck, and I got the neck first, and so that kind of didn't determine the body color, but maybe eliminated some other colors that I was thinking about for the body. Just a quick overview, thoughts of this. We're going to give kind of an honest review of each of these parts and talk about kind of pluses and minuses. I think for me, everything seems really good on this. Went through and checked all the frets, and they're all level, which is a bonus. It means a little less work on that end. The ends were a little bit sharp, and so we took a file and kind of rounded over each of the frets. The edge of the fretboard, and this is kind of a Tele thing, but it was very, very sharp. Very much 90-degree kind of as the fretboard or the neck comes into the fretboard there. So what I did is I started this long process of kind of just rolling the edges, so I'm a little bit more comfortable for the thumb over player or just moving around. I've still got some work to do on that, but that's kind of the way I'm making this neck a little bit more comfortable. It's kind of gloss on the face and then satin on the back.
Nice touch, I think.
Yeah, one other issue I ran into with this was the skunk stripe was coming up in a couple spots, kind of just the 2 different woods. I think this is a walnut center strip on the back. Either that or the roasted were shrinking slightly, and so it was popping up a little bit here and a little bit down here on the side. So since it was already satin, it worked out. Kind of took some 400 to 600 grit, sanded this thing down, kind of got it smooth again. As it sat in the cold in the shop, it's still kind of moving around a little bit. So
really dry right now.
We may be chasing that down a little bit.
Yeah.
That's just one thing, and I know that's kind of common on a lot of necks, especially that don't have a big coated finish. There's really not much finish on the back of this. So that may be something that we will be chasing down from time to time. But that is the neck. Overall, fairly impressed. I think this was a $350, brand new, made in Mexico. One thing I will bring up too is on the listing that it had the Fender 2-pin mounting holes, and when the neck showed up, it did not have those. So if you're buying one of these, just make sure that you're looking for that. Make sure you get your actual neck before you buy your tuners. I got lucky. Yeah. I was really antsy. I wanted to get the tuners, but I waited, and good thing I did, because so we got some nice vintage Clusen tuners for this bad boy.
Oh,
so
cool.
Let's talk about the body.
Yeah, the body, really cool. It's this really cool, I mean, it was gonna be like some Lake Placid, but now it's like this really cool, like midnight blue that in the light, oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
That is what's up. And then I gave away the secret to the contour or whatever, but, oh, it's over here. And that, you know, that's something that I think is hit or miss for people, but
yep.
I think it's never bad to have it. And if you have, I mean, we have several Teles, so one with the contour isn't gonna hurt, right?
Of course.
And then this is an MJT body, and it's kind of got their like a light.
It's like relic. A light relic, yeah.
Which to me is just great. Like, you know, that way you don't have to worry about dinging it up slightly at all.
Yep.
You're like, oh
exactly.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's worn in like, you know, like the jeans that you get that already have the holes in them or
That's
whatever.
right.
Even though it's better to put the holes in yourselves, everyone.
Definitely. And we've been working with MJT for a while. They use our pickups on their full, complete builds. So we wanted to get some of their stuff in the shop. We actually have a base body that they did that's super cool that's sitting in here in the shop that we're working on for a customer. So that is really cool. Overall, like, do you feel like quality-wise is kind of up to your expectations?
Oh, yeah. Totally up, and it exceeds them even, because I've held a lot of like Tele bodies in my hands lately, and I'm like, you know, kind of been just the weight of this one I feel a good thing coming off of it, and I don't know how to do the proper tap test or whatever, but
right.
I've got a good feeling about
this
one.
So we've got a cool color combination. You can see here with the roasted, and then we're going to be throwing on a parchment pickguard. You can see the color scheme there is going to look very nice. What we're also going to do is we're going to age the hardware. We're going to talk a little bit about aging the hardware, but if you're going to age hardware, you want to buy nickel hardware. So all of the hardware that we have purchased here from our friends at WD Music, here it is.
Yes.
All beautifully shrink wrapped. It's all nickel. So we're going to go through our relicing process, probably dedicate most of a full video to that. Give it kind of the aged hardware. You know, I don't really like if the body's beat up. I don't really like putting shiny hardware on a beat up body.
Kind of out of place.
So we'll give it kind of the relic treatment. We'll show you how we do that. Other thing to note, this is a small detail, but something I really like on Teles. I don't know how you feel, so maybe you can argue with me on this.
I think I know you're going to talk about too.
I'm going to talk about the mounting screws for the Tele. Now, I know a lot of traditionalists like to just have it straight to the body underneath. I really like having the adjustability of the neck pickup on the pick guard, probably because I'm a Strat guy initially. So I ordered this pick guard with the mounting screw holes on the outside so I can adjust it while it's strung up rather than pulling the whole pick guard off. So that's just one thing. How do you feel about that as far as, does it detract from the look to you, or are you kind of neutral on it?
I think like when you see like an old vintage one that doesn't have the screw holes, you're like, ooh, that hasn't been like, that's like clean, right?
Yeah,
that's like one of those signs that it's like fresh from the factory or that left the factory that way. But all of the Teles that I have those adjustment holes there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's great. And I like being able to just on the fly, you know, I'm getting too much of this this string or whatever, like I'm just gonna bring it down a bit. And I'm always messing with my pickup heights, especially on the bridge pickup where you can get too trebly or whatever too quickly. So that is a super nice touch, I think.
Cool. And then I think the other thing, just as we look at this project, none of the holes are drilled on the body except for the bridge mounting holes and the string through holes. So we'll be locating the holes for mounting this pick guard and also the control plate, things like that. So we're going to do, you know, probably in the next video talking about assembly, the pre-assembly stuff. We want to dry fit some of the parts want to make sure that we're not putting something in place and then we can't fit the control cavity on there, and making sure everything just drops in there really nicely. So last thing we probably should talk about is pickups.
Yeah.
What are we going to do for pickups? I know we had a conversation yesterday. What should we put in this guitar? Now we talked about how we're not really limited. Obviously, we can change. We know a few guys that make pickups, so we can swap them out whenever we want. But what are you thinking, kind of tone wise, on this? I mean, it's obviously got some vintage elements, but what do you think we should do on this thing?
Well, and when we were talking about it yesterday, I was thinking that, we mentioned the vintage hot kind of a vibe, because lately I've been digging like a more Esquire kind of lap steel sound, pickup sound in my bridge position, and that is something that we have, made kind of one off and here and there, but we've never really took the time to really design something that we really were super like, yeah, that's great. So, maybe it's time to like experiment something with that. But, the beautiful part about the Tele is that we can just drop any old set in there. And I know you even kind of maybe even teased about expanding the neck route. Because the body was just for the single coil route.
Sure.
But, it's a common mod to even just put the, P90 route in there or something.
I've been missing that. I had one, at one point I had a mini humbucker neck Tele bridge Tele at one point. I really just love that sound. Mostly, get kind of the cool neck sound, but not too big, not a full size humbucker necessarily.
Yeah.
The mini was pretty cool in there. One other thing, just as we get into assembly, we've got our nice Clusen bridge here. We're going to be putting that on. Most likely, we're going to be needing to drill a ground wire on this body. A lot of times, like Fender is kind of doing I don't know that they're doing a cheater method, but they'll use regular steel screws, and they will put the ground around that, like a little washer or something attached to the tab, and then go to the ground of electronics. Well, a lot of our pickups use stainless steel mounting screws, which are non-conductive. So we usually will have to add a separate ground wire. When we get to that assembly point, we'll take a look at what we got to work with and talk about how you would add a actual ground wire to the bridge of your Tele as well. So that's kind of the condensed version of what we're doing with this project. Make sure you guys are subscribed if you want to catch out more of our videos, see what we're working on, follow this build series. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Really appreciate those who have been subscribing more recently, trying to bust out a lot of really cool content, and also just to follow along with product demos and all sorts of other things that are going to be coming on our YouTube channel as well. So thanks for watching. We're excited. If you have questions or comments about the general quality of this stuff, just our honest thoughts about anything that we're starting with on this project, let us know. I think maybe as we end too, one thing I do want to mention is, and you've had this experience too, like ordering the parts and making sure you get all the right parts. Do you have any tips or tricks for people that, are you making a parts list? What are you doing to kind of like ensure that you get everything in the first try?
Yeah, I would say for sure make a parts list, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It can be written on a napkin, but just, just start thinking about the guitar, and it maybe helps to have kind of one there, and you can start looking down and seeing every little screw there and every little thing there. And, because sometimes the parts you get are nice and you'll have a lot of extra screws and stuff, but sometimes you will have to consider like getting a different screw. And then also in assembly, there's always times where you're like, oh wait, this isn't going to quite work.
I forgot this one piece.
Yeah. So, little things like that. A list is super helpful. And then definitely not a bad idea to like hit the parts caster forums. Like there's so many of them out there, and I think it's a good idea to hit them up and see if there's any issues. And because obviously if there's things that are kind of troublesome for most people, then you kind of like, oh, okay, maybe I should focus on that area. And
yeah, definitely. And the beauty about Fender guitars is you can interchange the parts. If you have something weird with your neck or your body, you can keep swapping things in and out, pick guards, all that kind of stuff. I think for me too I don't remember if when we ordered this stuff from WD, I don't think they had a project list. Some websites have a project list you can save. Like my project is this Tele, and so it's all the hardware for that, and then you can go reorder it. But what I did is obviously I've got my order receipt, so I can print that out and I can just check off everything. And if I didn't order it, I can make sure it's on the next time we do a Tele, or I can put put part numbers down easier for the next time I want to order some of these things. Because it really was, it took me a little while to go through and find nickel hardware for everything.
Yeah.
I found some stuff in chrome, some stuff in nickel, and then I was like, well, I need nickel so we can relic it. So for me, it took a little bit longer to kind of source all this, but it was helpful to go with one place like WD or All Parts, something like that, where you're just buying everything from one. I know that it's tempting to save a few extra bucks here and there, and sometimes you can find a good deal on a used bridge or something like that, but for me, it was just convenient to get it all in one box.
Yeah, and especially for this purpose, too.
Yes, exactly.
Makes it easy not have to chase multiple parts around. But, it's a fun project, I think. And you can't mess up too bad, I think, with the Telecaster.
Yeah.
It'll play, it'll work.
That's right. Yeah, and last thing, too, just this nut, kind of everything is started. There's some pre-slotted stuff here, but it's not the correct final height. So we'll be going through getting that dialed into the right height as well. And it's just it looks like it's just a plastic nut. It's not a bone nut or anything. So it's at the point where if you did want to take something like this and put a bone nut in there, it wouldn't be that much extra work to start from scratch on a bone nut. But we'll talk about that when we get there. And for now, we're looking forward to starting to put this thing together and relicking some hardware. So we'll see you guys next time.
Yep, the next section.